Hey guys, how you doing? This is Andrew Sims with the Sims Consulting Group. Welcome to another edition of Servant Leadership Sunday. I want to do something a little different today because it's the beginning days of Black History Month, and we're going to highlight some Black businesses. But before we get there, I want to talk about two things. From one, me being a Black man and being a Black business owner, and why it's important for me to make sure that I pursue excellence and making sure that I get this business to where I believe God wants it to be. But also, I want to make sure that the goal and focus of my business is to help minority business owners that don't have access to resources and tools, kind of help my consulting company kind of put them in a place where they can compete and compete with the knowledge and the data that their competition has. So in short, man, I want to take two books that I guess really one book that's giving me a charge in one way and another book that's grounded me in another. And these are two African American authors. So the first book I want to talk about is this is Dr. Martin Luther King's book, Why We Can't Wait. This book deals with a lot of issues, particularly civil rights. But the overall message of that book talks about how we have to really push for equality now. And I think part of civil rights, well, I know part of the civil rights movement was about equity. Part of the civil rights movement was about fair treatment, fair housing, fair laws, fair across the board. But right now, what we're going through, what a lot of people are considering to be the third Reconstruction, is really about financial inclusion and financial equality. And I think this is the role that Black businesses are going to play going forward. Because again, you don't get to equality until you have financial equality, which is and then by to get to financial equality, you need a fair playing field. By fair, I don't mean that you necessarily have everything that everybody else has, but you understand the business dynamics, you have the business information, you have the access to capital, and all of those other things that go with starting a business and making sure that your business is scalable, is successful, and it has the infrastructure to be a large company. Or a successful company if you don't want it to be large. And then the second book I want to highlight is by T.D. Jakes, and it's Life Overflowing. Let's talk about the first book, Why We Can't Wait. It's no secret that being a minority in this country is a different experience from being somebody of another ethnicity. Now, different, you could decide on what different means to you, but to me it means that there are more hurdles in place for us that have my skin color. It's a fact. It's not saying that we can't overcome them, because people have been overcoming those hurdles. It's not saying that that's an excuse to not put forth excellence, but it's something that we have to understand, deal with, and find solutions to get around. With that being said, as a Black business owner, I want to make sure that I give access and opportunity to people that look like me. And what I mean by that is, in short, part of my driving force is that let me start here. I've been in an interview process where I was the most qualified, where I had the letters and all of the other things that are quote unquote the prerequisites to getting a position, and I did not get the position. Now, some of those might have been on me, right? I might not have explained my process well, or whatever have you, or had a great interview process. But some of those things definitely had to do with my skin color. Now, to say that was my own experience is not true, because some of those other experiences went very well, and I did get the position, and we did get the, I did get the job, or whatever have you. But far too many times, people that look like me don't get a fair shake when it comes to the employment and hiring process. So, my way of combating that is to build Black businesses. Number two, there are certain things that the Black experience from a male and female standpoint. There's certain things that experience lends itself to that doesn't actually get addressed by corporate America, because it's not a problem that the people at the top of corporate America have. So it's not something that they feel the need to address. For instance, there are cultural differences. We've just come through some of them. I wanted to say the most tumultuous time in my life in America, where we constantly see the death of African American men at the hands of police, at the hands of other African American men, across the board, right? Just death across the board. And at what point in time does that affect performance from a business standpoint, right? Not to simplify it, but it's hard to compartmentalize as a black man what you see on TV and then go into a corporate environment and say, okay, this is not going to affect how I perform. And corporate America is very unforgiving in the sense that you are paid for performance. So as a black man, to be able to go into an arena and perform while you're dealing with the stresses of just being in America, it's going to be difficult. So those are things that are not adequately understood, and then put some things in place to kind of support those people, or support people that go through that. And then from another standpoint, let's take it from a female standpoint. Black birth rate. It's a lot. It takes. I want to say this right. Giving birth or child care or pregnancy for an African American woman is not the same as it is for most other ethnicities. Recovery time is not the same, and the actual stress of going through that process is not the same. So to say that 6 weeks or all these different things that are put in place, in some cases that doesn't cut it. And all I'm trying to say is that corporate America is not lending itself to the African American in this country. And I think that needs to be changed. Because again, you have to understand that you have to understand the differences in experience. Same thing with education. If a kid doesn't have 3 square meals and they hear gunshots all night, they don't get a good night's sleep, they're dealing with PTSD. These things are going to affect how this child goes into this school and learns and is able to focus. And these things need to be adjusted. And we need black business owners that understand that are at the forefront in leadership, that are able to say, hey, I understand what you're going through. Take a day off. Take a week off. You get another week. Or your pregnancy was a little difficult. Take all the time you need. Right? Because if we don't, we're not dealing with the issue. So why we can't wait? We need to put ourselves in a position to be able to take care of people that look like us. And it's not to rule out anybody else or say that we don't do business or anything foolish like that. But the experience on the ground is different. So when I go into a black business, I am charged to make sure that they're successful, because there's going to be a young kid that's going to need an opportunity that he may only get from sitting across from somebody that looks like him. He may only get that opportunity to change his life when the person that's across from him understands all the stuff that he had to do to even sit across from him and do this interview. So what I'm saying to you is, we need to be in a hiring position. And to be in a hiring position, for the most part, means we need to own our own businesses. And I'll leave that alone, man. This second book, Life Overflowing. Remember, I'm a believer. I'm a Christian. So, in order for me to lead effectively, in order for me to hear God's voice and understand what God has called me to do, and then be able to turn that into a business plan, and then some actions, and then foster an environment that's loving and has servant leadership at its centerpiece, and all these different things, I need to be able to produce that out of me. I need to be able to give birth to that environment. I need to be able to give birth to these dreams that God has put inside of me, right? And I think, of course, the Bible being the ultimate book that we go to, but there are other books out there of leaders that have gone through the process, that have been able to anchor themselves both to God and lend themselves to business. And TD Jakes is one of those men for me. I have a pastor, but I also glean from other pastors. So TD Jakes, this book, Life Overflowing, talks about the spirit man, the soul man, the things that we deal with, being a husband, managing your business and your family. And what it points to is life overflowing in all areas. I don't want people to just have a big bank account and a miserable life. Or I don't want you to have a great family and no money in the bank. You need both. You need both. But I don't believe, and I don't know of a way to do it without God at the center. I know, like I said, I always say I know business techniques, and this is not the venue for just business techniques. This is not the venue for just, hey, here's a business principle, take it and run with it. This is the venue to understand who the source is. At the end of the day, there's a source. There's a source of good, and it's God. So the purpose of this Sunday service, right, is to Sunday servant leader episode, right, or however, is to really understand we can't wait. The barriers of entry to a lot of industries have been knocked down by the internet. Take advantage of it. Everybody does not need to be an entrepreneur. I am not saying that. I'm not one of those people that believe everybody's supposed to own their own business. Some people need to work for people. Some people are the vision carriers. Some people are the vision support staff, right? But at the end of the day, we can't wait for economic inclusion. We have to build a table and then bring people around that table to eat and also survive and support and then be a part of the mission. And we need to build tables in various communities. So I say all that to say that's my mission. That's my purpose. That's why I can't wait. That's why I just didn't want another corporate job where I had a nice title and a good salary. That's why I'm a consultant. It would be very easy for me to go and make 6+ figures somewhere and be very comfortable, not ruffle the feathers or rock the boat or whatever have you, and put my family in position, get some real estate, some recurring revenue out of that, and we'd be good. No, it's more than that. It's more than that. There are more people that I want to make sure have that opportunity. And by me being one educated, my MBA is in entrepreneurship. So my MBA, my master's is all about entrepreneurship. I have an MBA in entrepreneurship. I also have a PMP certification for as a project management professional. So businesses are projects at the core, in their different phases of that project. There's the starting phase, the managing phase, and all that. So businesses, to get off the ground, you can look at it like a project. So I went and got the education needed to help people that look like me build their dreams. And this is why I believe this book is apropos for any African American business owner. Why we can't wait. And then there's also another book that's great, and I learned about this through Roland Martin. Roland Martin Unfiltered was one of the, when I first started watching him, man. And if he ever sees this video, he was an important part of how I became who I am from that standpoint. And it's, where do we go from here? Martin Luther King, where do we go from here? And it's where Martin Luther King lays out the steps that African Americans need to take going forward in order to believe or to achieve or come to what he called was the promised land. So there's two parts. Like I said, there's the manward side, and then there's the spiritual side, or the business side and the spiritual side. We need to tackle both, and we need to be feeding them both with good books and good information. You can see I got a little bit on this book. I use this book, man. But again, people, man, I am all about black empowerment, man. In Christian values and overall lifting the name of Jesus, man. That's what I'm about. That's who I am. And black empowerment, not meaning taken away from any other race, but we got to understand the position of each ethnic group and who needs to support more. who needs more support. So that's where I'm coming from with it, man. That's why I get up every day. That's why I'm not sitting in some executive office at some big time company. I'm sitting right now in my home, man. Consulting people from here or going out to their location. Not so much now due to COVID-19. It's because I believe that that's a vital piece to the surviving and thriving of my particular community, man. So God bless you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Check out those books, read those books, and there are various other books that you can tap into that are awesome. Don't forget the Bible is the centerpiece. That's the main book. But there are other books that can give you insight onto certain things that we need to do as a community, man. So this is Andrew Sims with the Sims Consulting Group. You guys be blessed, man. Again, my kids coming down to try to find me now on the Super Bowl Sunday. So y'all take care, man. Peace.